Welcome to the Cannon Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Darius, and today we are joined by founder of One Sports RX, Dwight Ross. Dwight, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. What's up?
All right, Dwight, so kind of give us some background. Where are you from?
From all over the place, actually. I was born in Stillwater, Oklahoma. My dad went to college at Oklahoma State, and that's how I was born there. Don't remember anything about it. From there, moved to Southern California. About 10th grade, moved to Arkansas. My dad has always been like a certification engineer for a private jet company, and just so happened to be in Little Rock, Arkansas. And we had the option of Little Rock, Teterboro, New Jersey, or Bordeaux, France, and my mom wasn't having any of the latter. So we ended up in Little Rock, Arkansas. Went to high school and college there. And then from there, the day I graduated, I moved to Las Vegas. Graduated college. Moved to Las Vegas and spent about 24 years there with a couple stints in Tampa, Florida, 2011, and I think again in 2016. And then Atlanta, 2017. Orange County. In 2018, 2019, and now I'm here.
So a lot of back and forth, East Coast, West Coast, East Coast, West Coast.
Yeah, it's the problem with my business is, and anybody in this industry, you can't train or you can't make money at it. There's no industry. We can't go to Iowa, the cold climates, for combine training and NFL and baseball, anybody training the off season, they want to be in Arizona, Southern California, Miami, Atlanta's about as far north of, across the Mesa-Dixon line you want to go.
Let's get into that, kind of talk about what you do. What is One Sports RX?
Well, One Sports RX is just kind of a spinoff, something that, I saw it always going on when we were training, everybody we were training. So a player would say, hey, I want to bring in my chiropractor on Friday, or hey, Dwight, can you find me a physical therapist to come in Friday? Who do I get massages from? And that was always a hard thing to find because, the ones that are good enough that the players, will accept and call quality are always booked. And so, we would bring them in, we would, hey, can you come in on Friday? Sure. Then they'd be late, and you stack up 4 or 5 guys to get it. And then, you have a chiropractor come in on Wednesday or, whatever, and the guy doesn't show up. The player says, oh, it's our off day anyway. I'm decided to go on a trip, go play golf or something. And so it was just a headache. And but for the convenience side of it, we found a way to partner with a physical therapist. And so that's what we did, back in 2011 with a guy named Jason Waz, Competitive Edge out of Tampa, Florida. And we were able to put it together. And for the convenience side of it, he was always there on site. And so the players just started evolving and saying, this is great. I don't have to go, across town to this guy, and I could just go home, leave the gym, and go home from here. And then from there, I started finding out these guys love body work. So, I always have to tell the PTs, don't get in your feelings, or the chiropractors, don't get in your feelings, but what they really like is the body work. The PTs are here, you guys are here more for the injuries and, the technical, the corrective exercise and things like that. But so in Orange County, one of my players that I've trained for going on 10 years now, we always talked about putting it together on the West Coast because that's where I'm from, that's where I want to be. And he brought up a doctor in Huntington Beach, and so I said, yeah, you should talk. He wants to do your model. He's kind of into your model, and of course he knew the medical side of it. I knew the training side of it, and I had experience of working on the medical with the training side. And so I got on the phone with him, and I think in June we decided, hey, let's try it. We were going to try it in January, and then here comes June 28th of 2017, and we say, hey, you want to do it now? I've got a vendor that can set up the weight room and everything. We used a parking garage there in Huntington Beach. The weather's 75 degrees, all summer long, July 1st through August 1st. And in 2 days, we had a gym set up and turf, sand, racks, sand pit, all of our Vertimaxes, everything in this parking garage, and it was just a cool vibe. It was covered in graffiti and all of this. And so July 4th, I had 2 guys. July 6th, we had 10 guys, and I would say within 5 or 6 days, all of the Charger kids, started reporting into town. That was their first year in the Irvine Costa Mesa market, and so. And within 3 or 4 days, we had 20, 25 guys coming in there. And so anyway, that worked well.
And these are from like connections with that you've made and.
Yeah, because ironically, about 15 of the Charger players at the time were all from Florida. And Florida guys like training with Florida guys, you know, and then they like trainers from Florida. And so, you know, Florida training, and, you know, you're from Georgia and Florida, and we just get down differently there, you know.
Yeah.
And
we produce the best talent.
And I would like to lump myself into that, you know, and I like to lump every player I've ever met in Florida like that. And, you know, that's a competitive thing. You hear
absolutely.
the California guys, and sure, there's some studs out here.
Oh, for sure.
It's where it's at. I don't want to offend anybody here, but that's where it's at, and you know it.
So kind of backing up from the training stuff, going back to the beginning, how did you get into football?
So into football, you know, I've always played it, you know, from the time I was 9 years old. And then, you know, baseball and football, and I just quit growing in football, so I ended up in baseball. But my passion was football. I loved to work out. I loved the contact. I was in a sport with a team, and back then, it wasn't Pop Warner where they weighed. You know, if you weighed 200 pounds, you had to play with 200-pounders. Back then, it was, I think I was 4'5" and 98 pounds or something, and we played 4th, 5th, and 6th graders. And so 4th, 5th, and 6th graders, no matter how big you were, we played. There was no, if you were 200 pounds, you couldn't carry the ball, I had to carry it. So, I mean, they got to carry it, and I had to tackle them. And so I just fell in love with it. You know, I was voted, what is it called, most improved player my first year. And then
MIP?
MIP. And then my teammate was the MVP of the team. And then the next year I was MVP, defensive MVP of the league. And my teammate, what's funny is taking pictures. He's, you know, 6 foot already in the 6th grade, and here I am. I'm 4'11", even going into the 7th grade. So I just loved it. I loved the contact of it. I loved our coaches. You know, we had really good coaching, and, you know, just football was a different thing, and just the camaraderie, the fraternity of it, you know, that was fun. You know, just always being around those guys in the weight room. We always pushed each other, and it's a barbershop kind of vibe feeling. You know, you're always just joking and BSing with your teammates, and the coaches even are good guys, you know, and kind of fun, except when they're yelling at you, but we all take that.
Yeah, so the connection kind of that came from sports, but football specifically kind of.
Yeah, football specifically. Yeah, and it's funny, when I get to college, it's the same thing. My baseball coach didn't want me working out with the football players. Well, I'd like.
So you went to college, you played baseball in college?
Baseball, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What college was that?
University of Arkansas.
Oh, okay, Arkansas. Yeah. No big deal, SEC.
Right. Yeah, no, I wanted to play football there. You know, I wanted to play football anywhere, actually, but the vertically challenged side of me ended up playing baseball. But I was good at baseball. I love baseball. I just didn't want to cut my hair and play for the high school team. I played in the summer leagues and, you know, all of that. But get to college, and coaches gives us these boring band workouts and things like that, and we're done in 30 minutes. Everybody kind of goofs off in the weight room. And
not too much sweating going on?
No, just because it was hot. I mean, the humidity down there, you know, it's nasty, you know, between the lightning tornadoes and the mosquitoes carrying you away and things like that. But now the football side, I just love the weight room, and it was always something. And I'm not the stand in the mirror, the gold gym guy that, you know, has to do curls in the mirror. I don't mean that. I just liked the improvement that I can make, you know, and just see the difference. And I was always undersized, you know, vertically anyway. And so I always just put in, you know, all the work I could, and then partied too much probably.
The football career ended with high school, and then you did some baseball, but at the end of the day, you loved football. Football was what was going to be done going forward.
Yeah.
So to transition from being an athlete to a trainer, what was that like?
Well, it's interesting, because there wasn't an industry in this, not a lucrative industry, barely a money-making industry. It's more of a hobby then. And I didn't realize that, you know, back to baseball, as I was in college to play baseball, that all of our stay-eligible classes were coaching baseball, badminton, bowling 1, 2, and 3, coaching track, and things like that. So I just so happened to, hey, you played baseball there, and hey, you were a good football player in high school. Can you work with my son? Hey, can you do this? And then all of a sudden we're in the park with several collegiate players or high school players, substantial guys, you know, that had offers or whatever. And so I'm working out with them just as a hobby, you know, and not thinking anything of it. And guys were getting better, and then I just didn't realize that I knew so much. I'm thinking, you know, I'm in school in Arkansas. What can I know more than a guy that would go to UCLA or Georgia, right? You know, I think Herschel was our guy when I was a kid. And so, excuse me. And then, you know, so and then the industry came around, and so I was a developer and contractor, you know, in Vegas, and so the industry just came around, and I started to do a project for another trainer. And then he said, hey, you know a little bit about this and a little bit about that. Why don't you come do this for me? And so I filled in the voids and just found out that I might be pretty good at what I do.
So you combine those knowledges of what you were doing with the love of football, and it just kind of worked. Obviously, we're sitting in a beautiful facility here.
Right, yeah. And and the key to my success, I think, is I've always hired or relied on people that are smarter than me. I say I'm the dumbest guy in the building. I mean, I hire, physical therapists. I want to learn from them. They're the latest and greatest what's coming out of school. They've got the latest and greatest, modalities, for treating XYZ injuries or something like that, a corrective exercise. Here's a new trick for, treating tight internal rotators and preventing an injury. So that's the thing. Trainers, I always want to be around the smartest trainers in the world. So that's why I work with, Mike Scott, Steve Calhoun, and guys like that, Sid Sharma down in Phoenix, so Trip Hell over in Vegas. I always want to be around those guys that have been at a higher level than me and just learn from them, be a sponge.
And learning from those guys and kind of all over the country, how that's kind of your journey, just literally all over the United States.
Literally all over.
And that's kind of the building blocks of One Sports RX, right? You're not just in Agoura Hills, it's all over the place.
Right.
Talk about the growth of that a little bit.
Yeah, so the growth, so as investors, kind of came around and said, hey, this isn't in our wheelhouse of what we normally put in our portfolio, but hey, a friend introduced me to your business model, your pitch deck, your business plan, and it's something we want to get into. It's kind of cool, and these guys are in bands and they're investment bankers, and one's a classical music professor at San Jose State, and so just kind of got into it, and I said, hey, well, our plan is this. I need this location because I'm established in Tampa, Florida. I'm established in Southern California. I'm established in Las Vegas. Let's do it. So, we were dealing with COVID, and so things kind of slowed down, and our plan was to open one in 6 months, one in 6 months, and one in another 6 months, and in a year have 3. And then they talked, hey, let's do 10 by the end of 2022. And so now, again, COVID flared back up, so we slowed that down. But then they were like, hey, let's open all 3 at once. And I said, yeah, let's do it. And so, it's a challenge, but the iron is hot. I have players, I have clients, I have coaches, I have PTs, and everybody available in all the locations. And so March 25th, we fly down, after our pro day guys leave, I fly down to Tampa to go look at real estate and commercial property there in Clearwater Beach, St. Pete Beach, to open another location there.
All the way, East Coast, West Coast.
East Coast, West Coast.
That's kind of beautiful. And now, One Sports RX, a big thing you're about, and you kind of touch on it a little bit, it's just kind of pushing their guys to their limit, but then also getting them right so they can do it again the next day.
That's the thing. Going back to that Florida, Southern football, or even Arkansas, Texas, Georgia, where these guys are from, that push is different. I've seen it, I've experienced it, I've done it. So, I'm not asking people to do what I haven't done. So when guys kind of wimp out, I'm like, you're not doing it at 6 a.m. with dew. I don't even know if they know what dew is here, and humidity. The coach cut our grass. Cool Wilson would cut our grass every morning at 6 o'clock or before we come out on the field. We sticky, and it's like, so I just know what the body can go through, and I don't overdo it. Overtraining is a big no-no, and I hate to see it, and I see it a lot. And but that's it. And so I know to give them, I could work a guy out, NFL guy, and 15-minute warm up, and they work out 45 minutes, and they're worked. Immediately, give them a shake and put them on the table. They can get their body work, their PT work, or whatever, and now they're ready to go the next day. Not at that moment, but they come in the next morning, they feel good, they're flushed out, ready to go.
You're working with the NFL players, but you also work all the way down through the high school. I mean, you start with these kids early, right?
I love high school kids. I've got a kid coming tomorrow that's just coming over for a spring break just to visit that I've had. He walked onto the field while we had 10 or 15 NFL guys. Mom's a 49er fanatic, and I'm standing there with Chargers and I can't remember, Buffalo Bills and a couple other guys. And I've had him, I was thinking 8th grade, and she says, no, he was 8. Here's the picture, and so those guys you can do something with. You can change them, you can develop them. The vets are more maintenance and fix, tweak something here or there, and collaborate with other coaches and say, what do you see here? And then that's kind of how we work with the, the pros. Their job is to, just stay in shape and stay healthy and stay employed that way. But high school kids, or young kids, middle school kids, high school kids, there's so much that you could teach them and, teach them good habits before the bad habits set in and, cause problems. A lot of times these guys are, getting injuries in high school that have happened because of the way they weightlifted in middle school or something, or same thing in college. I see a lot of high school kids going to college and blow an ACL their freshman year, but it's usually a result of what they've done in high school.
So the high school training, obviously, like, is the foundation right there. And then and a lot of guys we've worked with, too. I mean, Cannon's come in, filmed them.
Right.
Is the guys preparing for the NFL. Do you mind kind of detailing, the beginning to the end of their days? Because it's a lot. And a lot of people don't realize what goes into it, to just to get ready for the draft, not just necessarily to be in the pros.
Yeah, so for the draft, it's unique. And, I mean, I tell kids every year as we're recruiting, or, an agent may call and say, this kid, he doesn't have a bowl game, so he wants to start in December as an example. And I say, yeah, I don't know if they want to, because they've just gone through junior season in their college season, and then spring football in their senior season, and then they go through summer workouts, and then a whole season. I guess a team that's not in a bowl game may play 9 or 10 games now, and let them chill, because here's what's going to happen when they show up the first Monday in January. We start, with weigh-in and evaluation. The PT does their work and finds out what's going on with them. And, just this year we had 2 turf toes, a rotator problem, a shoulder, an ankle, a rolled ankle, a growing pull. And these guys show up, they're just banged up from the season. And so once they're done evaluating, I mean, their first workout is 9 a.m. So we meet at the field, and Monday, Wednesday, and Friday they're with the Barber twins, doing their speed. So they're rolling out, foaming out, stretching, and 9 o'clock they're live. And so they're doing their dynamic warm-up, doing their speed work. So they're pulling sleds, running hills, doing all those things, working on running mechanics, because I tell these kids, you're going to hate this. You're going to hate it. After 8 weeks, if you're blessed enough to go to the combine and you run a great time, you could shut it down and go just do position drills at your pro day. But these guys that are on the fringe, they've got to put it in, and they're 10 weeks, now we're seeing pro days. Like, I think we have 5 guys that are the 22nd, 2 guys the 28th, and 2 guys the 29th that are still here. And that's 12 weeks after all that abuse from their college days. And then, so now we go Monday, Wednesday, Friday with the girls at 9 a.m. And then guess what? Now you got to come in after killing your legs, get a little treatment, and then at 1 o'clock we fire up again, and now you can do a lower body lift. And so, that's an hour and 15 minutes. Then after that, they get their treatment in the hyperbaric chamber, in the cold tubs, the sauna, getting over here with the bodywork people, the PTs, doing all their corrective exercise. These guys have tight hips, or, whatever it is, all the injuries that, I just mentioned. Those guys are spending 3 hours just sitting here on the turf with the medical people and tightening up. And then guess what? You got to wake up in the morning on Tuesday and Thursday, you're with me and the position coaches and back in the weight room with Excellence, and Fab and those guys, and doing an upper body workout. So they've got 3 workouts on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And so, by the time Sunday rolls around, we just have a get swole Saturday or whatever. Those guys come in, it's just an upper body lift. And they have gone through 11, 12 workouts, 13 workouts in 1 week times, 10 or 12 weeks now. So it's a lot that these guys are going through, and mentally it's exhausting. I saw the guys starting to wear down a couple weeks ago, getting a little chippy with, nothing, but it's just, I explain to them every year, you're going to hate the meals. You're going to get tired of the workouts. You're going to get tired of me saying be on time, because we all have schedules, and next year it's going to cost you $1,000 or $10,000. You're a minute late, or you're a pound overweight or underweight, and things like that. So it's just something we try to educate them on and let them know you're going to hate me and I'm going to hate you in 10 weeks. And so that's where we're at.
I mean, yeah, all this work that you put in with them and the work that they put in with you, sometimes it leads to the league, sometimes it doesn't. But for those guys that makes it to the next level, like what sense of pride do you have in that when that happens?
Man, the pride is seeing a kid that didn't deserve it. I don't mean didn't deserve it by the work that they put in, but the guys that the scouts didn't pay attention to, the guys that I look at them and say, wait a minute, you can move better than that guy, and I've had first-round guy, and you're a preferred free agent, grade, or a 7th-round grade. Now this guy's going to make it, and I explained to him that there's more undrafted free agents in the Hall of Fame than there are first rounders. And so, that kind of perks them up, but they're like, yeah, but these undrafted guys, back then there was 14 rounds, 15 rounds or whatever. And so it's the pride is so many of these guys are family. I have taken them from high school, and it's not me that made them that. I was a part of that, you know. And so high school, I may get to see a kid for 6 weeks out of the year. College, I get to see them on their Christmas break, maybe. You know, they're keeping them on campus, summer A and summer B now. We had some kids in this week, you know, that are spring breakers. And, you know, you saw last week we had some of
national champs.
Yeah.
Chris Smith, Mayor Speed.
And Mayor Speed, Poole, yeah, all of them, Jalen Johnson. Yeah, and so they were all here. And so it was good seeing those guys and, you know, going through their aches and pains. But that's the pride in knowing those kids younger, you know, in high school or college even. Like I have a kid that I trained with, has been with the Chargers and the Texans. And we just started year 10 with him on Monday, and then his cousin is here training with me now. And so he's—
And who is that?
Alonzo Adai. Mm-hmm. And so he's from West Virginia, you know, and then his big cousin, you know, Jalil's brother, is the now former Georgia DB coach, now the Miami DB coach, and they're going to turn things around down there for them. Let's see how they compete with Georgia, though. So, yeah, they're both recruiting.
Best of luck, but come on now.
Yeah, he might be able to recruit them, though. He's a good recruiter. But, yeah, so that's my pride in seeing those kids like that I know. I've known Alonzo for 3 years and worked with him for about 3 years. And Malik Davis, the Florida running back that we have, and, you know, is going to run a blazing time. And, you know, he looks really good. They're doubting him. You know, why did they doubt him? He's freshman, you know, all SEC first team freshman.
I'm familiar, yeah.
Yeah.
Ran on us a few times.
Yeah, he did. He did, you know, and then had an injury his sophomore year and another injury his junior year, and then COVID, and then, you know, the offense, the delivery system, the coaching changes and things like that. Just guess who gets the bad knock? It's the player. It's not his fault. He didn't change who he was. He actually got better and got bigger and got faster, and, you know, his head's on straight. And so it's fun to see that kid that I met in high school. And, you know, when he was a scrawny 160-pound fast kid, you know, breaking records at Jesuit High School. And I've got a tight end here. Same thing. He's been a receiver. I've always told him, you're a tight end in the league. So finally he switched his position. Another guy you've talked to, you know, Macklin went down to the All-Star game and showed out, and 3 days in a row he blew the you know, all the scouts and everything away, and now his phone is ringing off the hook, or his agent's phone's ringing off the hook, and he's getting into the Duke Pro Day. You know, we just heard that today. And so,
awesome. You
know, he's going to get in front of the right people. And so that's my pride. I pride myself on those undrafted free agents and just taking those guys as long as they can go into their career, because they do the right thing. Keep their nose clean, stay in shape, stay healthy. You're going to stay on a team.
I mean, a lot of these guys you work with, I mean, what's the criteria that come, because do they always come to you? Do you find some guys? Is it a little bit of both? I mean, you don't accept everyone. I mean, this is a lot. So what's the criteria kind of to work with Dwight Ross?
It's kind of a who you know, and it's like on my end, it's who I know, you know, and for them, it's who they know. And it's not like I'm royalty. I look at them as, you know, they're royalty. And so, you know, like when we first all got to Orange County, I was telling that story about, you know, many of the Chargers were from Florida, and it was, you know, Jalil's there and Javontes Brown, and, you know, they put their arm around Denzel Perryman and that, and then here comes Keenan, here comes, you know, Gordon, and you know, Darius Philon, who is an Arkansas alum, and, you know, and I love that kid, and, you know, he's making a great career for himself now, and put it back on the Chargers and stung a little bit. But anyway, so it's really just, you know, if you say they're a dog and they work, and, you know, they're not going to be a cancer in here, they like to come here and have fun and, you know, make it a barbershop environment and just, you know, chill and talk smack and just do what football players do, then that's kind of what I look for. High school kids, I just don't want their parents in here yelling at them, this is a place. You know, these kids, you're paying good money for these kids to get better. It's not a place where we come in here and yell. They're coaches, they're position coaches, and they're strength coaches at school. That's their job to yell at them. You know, here we want to work on those things. That's what they're paying for. So if a kid just wants to come here and listen and get better, and you see that, and sometimes you see the parents are, you know, a little bit over the top with it, a lot over the top with it, but that's kind of the criterion for me. I don't have an athlete that I wouldn't try, you know, at least give a look at. So
it really comes down to attitude and work ethic.
It's attitude, and it's not money for me, you know. So you think a high school kid comes in, you know, we'll find a way to help a high school kid that can't, you know. So it's really the attitude and the work ethic. And usually that kid that's a disadvantage, which you see a lot of them, you know, in Florida and the South. You know, those kids don't come from anything. You know, they grow up on peanut butter and jelly, mashed potatoes and chicken and, you know, whatever, and they eat and they grow up big. And so let's give them a program that turns that into something. And so, you know, the pick of the litter down there for, you know, college coaches. And so, you know, one-stop shop. When they stop in one high school, they can probably see 4 or 5, you know, Division I, Division II players. Yeah. In one high school, yeah.
And kind of piggybacking off that, I mean, all the years that you've worked, you've collected a lot of cool stories. You've met a lot of cool people. You've already touched on some of the athletes. I mean, Jalil, a lot of the Chargers guys, Keenan Allen. Do you mind kind of hopping in some of the stories? You've told me some personally, but I would love to. We'd love to get on the podcast.
Yeah.
Name some of the top guys you've worked with, or just stories in general.
Yeah, I mean, they're all top guys to me, but I mean, I've had some funny stories. You know, Keenan used to come in and, you know, he'd say White. They all call me White. You know, something about leaving off the first syllable in a name from Florida. But White, I gave you 4 sessions last year. I'm going to give you 4 this year. Let's go. You know, I'm ready to go this year. And so he comes in, he gives me 2, and he's gone for the offseason. But his thing is he's a hooper, you know. And so, like, I'm not that trainer that says you need to be in here because, like, his game is, you know, not the fastest guy in the world, but you can't cover him. I don't care who you are. You know, he's a hooper, and you know, he's Kyrie, you know, without the without the ball in his hands, and, you know, he's just going to always be open. So it's kind of fun to see those guys play like that. Phylon and Jason Verrett and Jalil Adai, those 3 in the weight room together, that's a battle at all times. It's nonstop from the time they walk in, and Phylon refuses to train with defensive linemen. He wants to train with the defensive backs and the wide receivers, and they're barking at each other the whole time. You can't do this, you can't do that. And Phylon, oh, watch me, and they just rib each other, but they all love each other, and it's just, I mean, fun to be around those guys like that.
Come on, any other guys though? Stories. Come on, I know you got stories. You've told nothing that will get you in trouble. Nothing that will get you in trouble.
Most would get me in trouble, maybe. I don't know. Shucks. Yeah, I don't know.
Shucks. Yeah, you're showing your age right there.
Yeah.
Shucks.
and discipline. You know. Gosh. I don't know.
What about some non-athletes? I mean, I know you've encountered those because, you know, with athletes comes the stars.
Sure. You know, a unique person that I really liked training was Randall Cunningham's wife. You know, so I had a group in Tampa, you know, I always talked about, you know, the women's group, you know, like to come in, they don't want to be gawked at or whatever. And so I had like Skip Holtz's wife and the Aaron Murray's mom. You remember Aaron?
Oh, of course I remember Aaron Murray.
So we had like a group of those women. They'd come in and fellowship, 15 minutes in prayer and things like that, and come in. And I was in Vegas, you know, at the facility there, and I had a lady I was training, you know, who's a motivational speaker and something, and she said, I'm gonna bring one of my friends from church, and in walks this, you know, 6 foot something, you know, and I'm sure you know their daughter, you know, Vashti, that's, you know, the high jumper in the Olympics now. And so in walks this, you know, tall lady, and I'm thinking, well, Sheila, I'm not gonna say her last name, but Sheila, you know, kind of dogs the workouts, a little bit lazy, a little bit slow. And I said, great, I'm gonna have to deal with 2 of these, I'm gonna have to deal with 5. They're gonna bring the whole church, you know, they all go to church together. And anyway, this lady comes in and kills it. And I'm like, who is she? I just didn't know. And then finally, 3 or 4 days later, it was Randall's wife. And I said, oh, they said, oh, yeah, she was a dancer on Broadway and all this stuff. But, you know, she was a beast. And so, you know, dealing with that, volleyball players on athlete's side, you know, the Stanford volleyball player, a Cal softball player that I trained in Tampa, they would miss their workouts because of practice or something. Then I have a Stanford football player, and then Lou Holtz's grandson, Trey Holtz, who's now a coach, I think, at Law Tech, you know, is training. And they're like, oh, hell, here they come again. We got to work out with them because they're just, you know, women athletes, they work hard and they care. And then, I mean, they're warming up. They're done with the warm-up. Let's go, you know. And that's, you know, Kristen and Sydney Brown were, I mean, just freaks, you know, in the weight room and working out. And they love to work out and do things like that. So I've seen it all. I mean, who knows? I can't remember. The manager for U2, you know, the guy flies in on a helicopter and drops right in front of our facility doing the Electric Day EDC or something in Vegas. He's like, Dwight, I heard you, you know, he's from England, I think, and he says, Dwight, I heard, you know, you can train some people and whatever. I gotta keep losing weight. I've been training in London and in Canada and Toronto when I was there, and I heard you're the guy in Vegas. And so, you know, here comes a helicopter and drops him off. And I'm like, are you kidding me? But Brian something Wilker, I think, Willer or something like that. But anyway, cool guy, shows up. It looks like he's never worked out in his life, you know, and he's hurt and everything, but loved the workouts. And I said, you know, we'll just go with that. But boxers. Boxers are cool to train. I was in Vegas. There's a lot of boxers, and worked with a guy, Del Torrance, I think I was telling you about before. Del Torrance is about 80, and he was always, working to send his boxers to us, and they're all up and coming. None of them have money, but they all work. You could tell they've come from nothing and they want something, and so those are unique people to work with and train to. So
well, there's a freaking story, man. There you go.
Yeah,
had to get it out. You had to shake it out.
Yeah, Dale loves it. Ironically, we were both in Arkansas. He was there in 55, he said, which sounded really odd to me. I'm 50, and so to hear 50, and I was born in the early 70s, so to hear him say, I was in Arkansas in 55 in the Navy, I was blown away. And then, he was partnered with Eddie Futch and Emmanuel Stewart on the Hoover Street Gym, and he's the last one standing of that bunch. And so, from Riddick Bowe to Ken Norton Sr., he's had Virgil Hill, he's had 21 world champions. And so it's just neat to sit in that guy's office and hear his calm and hear his wisdom and how to move. And Fan Man story, he was the trainer in that Fan Man story with Holyfield. And I think it was Riddick Bowe and Holyfield, right? So anyway, so turn the mic off, I'll remember 100 more stories.
Of course, that's exactly what's going to happen.
Right, yeah.
I'm moving on from the great stories, and if any pop up, feel free to interrupt me. But kind of just like current day NFL. I mean, right now we got free agency, pro days going on. Get some thoughts on, what, you're a Chargers fan.
Right.
We're two of like the only Chargers fans in Los Angeles. They
right.
moved to Los Angeles. We got Raiders fans everywhere. We got, a handful of Rams fans now.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so fellow Charger here. Talk about Khalil Mack. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that puts them in the bowl. I think that they were that close. I think they've got the offense dialed in. They've got a young tight end that I know and from high school and trained him in Tampa, and Trey McKitty that's going to come in a big role. I know that they're right. Another dog, yeah. And so I know that he's staying there at the facility working out with Justin and getting right. And so they're trying to get on the same page. They're not coming to facilities like us, and so they're focused on being together already, early in the off season. And so I think that all they missed was that guy, that stud. They had Bosa. Now they needed to fill in the blanks, and that for some reason they let Denzel go, and he was a dog in the middle. But I think that Khalil is the changer, and they have to have it in this AFC West. This AFC
stacked.
West is stacked now. And gunslingers. So you got 4 quarterbacks that are going to sling the rock, and somebody's got to stop them. And the only way you can stop them is to get to them faster. Make them, push them, force them into mistakes, and you got 2 edge rushers there that are going to kill it.
Oh, absolutely.
And run stopper.
Yeah, exactly. It helped. I mean, the run defense was the number one thing last year.
That was a problem. Yeah.
Now, another signing we talked about right before, too, J.C. Jackson.
That was the game changer, I think. After you got Khalil, that opened your eyes and said, oh, Tom's over there. Tom, is doing some things to win. A lot of these general managers and things, you just wonder what they're doing, and you always see fans complain, but there's a little bit of politics, but a lot of money that that's involved in these decisions, and Tom pulled the trigger this year, and so that JC, and I just thought that guy was a $100 million guy, and they got him at a discount, and he must just coming in saying, I just want to win, I want to play with that guy, I want to play in that market, and for some reason everything lined up, the stars aligned for Tom this year, and he's put together an all-star team, it looks like.
I mean, adding J.C. Jackson, does that give the Chargers the best secondary? I mean, we got Derwin. If they stay healthy, Derwin James, Asante Samuel Jr., add in him, it's up there.
I'm going to say it's top 3 or 4.
Yeah.
I mean, how can you – Derwin is a dog, and if you've ever seen him in person, that's a big dude. He's Melvin Gordon big on the –
and he's a safety.
He's coming at you. Yeah, he can line up at linebacker. He might be able to put his knuckle in the dirt and play too. He linebacker. He can play strong, free. He's fast. He will hurt you. He's going to pick everything. He breaks on the ball well. Now you got JC. I mean, where are you going to throw the ball? That's and all those guys are quick. It's not like not much. I mean, they could all play man. I mean, they're going to create some problems. That's so cliche to say, but that team is going to cause some problems now.
And also on the defensive line, a lot of mock drafts I've seen have the Chargers drafting my guy, Jordan Davis, out of UGA. I think add that, Super Bowl, I mean, I think at least AFC Championship game are bust.
Well, that's where I'm at. That's what I'm saying. I think that gets them in the bowl. If they come after your guy, Jackson, that's probably a good thing because, they say that Jackson, and I'm not going to knock him. I mean, I don't want to be on the other side of the ball from him. But, they say he's not the
Davis, Jordan Davis. Yeah,
not on the. Did I say what?
You said Jackson.
Yeah, Davis. He's not on the. He's not the best at pass defense, and they say a lot of times, he'd come off the field on third down plays, but that's fine if he can clog up that middle and do what Nick Fairley used to do at Auburn and what Davis has done at Georgia. I've watched him, as an Arkansas fan or SEC fan, watching anybody that they play. This guy, he'll run down the line of scrimmage and then hawk a running back. I didn't know he was a 4.7 guy.
Yeah, there you go, 4.73, right?
Yeah, and so you put that guy with next to in between Bosa and Mack and good linebacker core and the defensive back. Those meeting rooms should be fun, and I wouldn't want to be on the other side of the ball.
Oh, no, absolutely not. And, actually, it's funny you mentioned the Arkansas. I was at that game. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
It was up to 38-0. And
it was terrible. I couldn't believe it happened. I was disheartened.
I was nervous. It was college game day. It was the first time I had went to college game day because it happened a couple times in Athens, but both times, I forget what happened. I was like work, something.
Yeah.
But I got to, from Los Angeles there. The environment was awesome. The Arkansas fans were awesome.
Yeah, they are.
And then, it kills
me.
Yeah. It was great, though. It was a good time. And then, kind of moving on. So still actually staying on the Chargers right quick. Brandon Staley, I think overall solid first year, some mistakes here and there.
Yeah, I think the knocks on him, the only knocks I really hear are not from the players. It's the the announcers, the
media,
quarterbacks, the media, right? It's they want him not to punt, or you should have punted, or things like that.
Yeah,
and it's like I can side with them because traditional football and just playing the game the way it's supposed to be played, playing it as a chess match. You might look at that and go, "What? How stupid is this guy?" But really, he's not. As a player, it seems like that's what they'd want to do. I know when I played, I always wanted to go. We played Tecmo Bowl, or does anybody even know what that is now? But
I don't know what that is.
Madden 2028 or whatever we're at now. Whenever you play those games, you go for it on fourth down. You don't care.
Of course,
you want to win. And that's it. And that's the same competitiveness sitting in the lazy boys as being on the field. And so you'll see the teammates, the players come up to the coach. Thank you or, whatever for going for that. So that's really the only knock I've seen. I really think he's a good coach.
The players like him, though. You
players
think at the end
love
of the
him.
day.
Yep.
Players love him. Okay, that's good to know. But, at the end of the day, though, with the squad we now have put together, no playoffs, he's got to – but I have faith. We're going to make the playoffs.
If you don't make the playoffs, it's like my Razorbacks in the March Madness. 2 years in a row, they've done really good during the season. The football team has done really good, laid an egg against that team from Athens, but embarrassing egg, surprisingly. But anyway, it's just I agree. Like if you don't get in the playoffs, then there's something wrong with your staff, and who goes first. It's the position coaches, then the coordinators, and then him. But I think if you can't win with this team, barring injury, if you got a healthy squad going into the playoffs or not making the playoffs, that's a bad look for him.
But we're making the playoffs. AFC West is deep, but we're good.
I think, but if we can beat, if the Chargers can beat K-State.
We're fans,
Yeah, no, I'm fans.
You're right.
It's hard for me to have a favorite team, but Air Coryell woke me up when I was 9 or 10 years old, and it's like, whoa, they throw the ball. All we do in Little League is hand the ball off, or all teams are doing is running the wishbone in the late '80s and early '80s, and on into I think Ken Hatfield was at Arkansas when I was there, and so that was just a wishbone, and so to see Air Coryell, that's why I was attracted to them. But I really have no favorite team in sports other than the Chargers or the Red Sox or something like that. But the Chiefs, I've got a couple guys on there that I love. Byron Pringle, that's my guy.
You got guys everywhere.
Guys everywhere, yeah. I like the Bills, they made a good signing today. That thing was crazy.
That's Von Miller. That's crazy.
Yeah, I just don't know if he can do it.
He's going to be playing until he's 40, but,
Good for him.
Good for him. He got paid, and he's going to be on probably the favorites in the AFC if it's not the Chargers or the Broncos.
They're solid because
they're really good.
They barely – lost to the Chiefs there at the end.
And then adding on that, it's crazy.
Vaughn has that built-in.
You got Pacelli, your good friend Pacelli, on the Cardinals. So
yep.
You got a lot of things. The last NFL thing before we move on and wrap up, Tom Brady unretiring. What are your thoughts on that?
I think he should. He's at that position. I used to tell – I think my uncle told me when I was, 8 or 9 years old, my kid's going to be a kicker, and he's a kung fu kid, a little karate kid, and black belt by the time he was like 6 years old. And so we always talked about longevity. If you want to play in the league forever, if you can get an in, find a position open, be a kicker. But these quarterbacks are lasting forever now. Brett Favre, Heck, I don't know. You remember Danny White, from the Cowboys. I don't know how long he played. Montana played forever, and now you've got Tom Brady, but he's there. He's taking care of his body. He puts good things in his body. Even whatever he had on that boat that day where he threw the Super Bowl trophy over to Gronk. But, he's just he's a stud, and he knows the game. He has to be able to just know where everybody's at all times. I don't think you can throw any defense at him. I mean, you'd have to just be so unorthodox for him to make a mistake. And, you put a line in front of him, and it looks like they're going to commit to that, getting the right linemen in there and putting some guys around him. I saw they've signed some decent players on the defensive side of the ball, too, in free agency. So I think they're right there on the NFC side.
So you agree with the decision?
I agree with it.
100%.
Yeah, he's not banged up. He's not dead. He's as fast as he's always been. Yeah.
Oh yeah, their odds went from plus 2,500 to plus 750. I mean, that's the impact. I mean, it's the greatest of all time.
Right.
So that will do it.
And he really is. I mean, there's some these young kids out here now may grow up to be that, but may last that long. But
legacy-wise, though, I mean, how are you 7?
7. No, there's too much parity now. There's too much parity. There's no way that I don't think there'll ever be that again.
Yeah.
Unless they stop free agency. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. We'll wrap up the NFL portion, move on to the last thing, and we'll get out of here. What's the future look like for both you personally and then also professionally? One Sports RX. What's the future look like? What's next?
For me personally, I don't know. I've met a great girl. She's that dad, my grandkid. I have 2 grandkids, and one of them had their 4th birthday today. So I want to get down to Atlanta. He's in Atlanta. I want to go see him, and girlfriend may get married in the next couple of years. Something like that. I'm in love, and doing all that stuff. And then professional side, like I said, I'm flying down to Tampa to dive off into Clearwater and St. Pete, try to put a facility over there with a couple of clients of mine, that have experienced this, former Chargers, and put that together. And then, working on a deal in Scottsdale, Paradise Valley market right now too. So just trying to get all those things together by the end of 2022 and then shoot for 10 and then cash out when I'm 60. That's about 50 and a half now. Like a 5-year-old.
Okay, yeah. I mean, there you go, on the way. I mean, so it's essentially just staying connected to family, obviously keep happy wife, happy life, or eventually, right?
Yeah, right.
And grow that business.
Right. That's it. I mean, that's what the investors want. That's what we want. And, I'm not trying to be a millionaire, or I hope to be, but, I'm not trying to make money at this. It changed lives and just enjoy it while I do it. And then, I was a contractor and developer. I did really good in the 90s and early 2000s on that side. So financially, I'm good. But
it's about just making a difference.
Just making a difference. I can now. And I mean, I'm not living high on the hog, but, I could drive up and down the street and pay gas right now, barely, but.
Barely, yeah. Oh, my goodness.
Right. So, anyway, I mean, I'm just trying to ride off into the sunset if I can make it that long, if I'm blessed enough to do all that. And then kids are all grown. Had a foster kid. He's grown. All my kids are grown. My daughter's a cheerleader at Arkansas State, and she's got a couple years of school left, looking to go into physical therapy. So maybe hire her and give her a job and turn the business over to her one day.
Oh, that'd be beautiful.
Right.
But, yeah, I mean, everything One Sports RX is doing is great. We appreciate the, kind of almost essentially a partnership with Canon Sports and RX. It's been great. We believe in the future. We look forward to see what comes. But thanks for hopping on.
Cool. Thanks, man.
All right, that will do it for us.
Okay. All right. Take care, Darius.
Cue music. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe and follow us on Instagram at Canon Sports, TikTok at Canon Sports Official, and of course, canonsports.com for all your sporting goods needs. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you next time.